So hold my hand, I'll walk with you, my dear.
The stars creak as you sleep, it's keeping me awake.
It's the house telling you to close your eyes.
And some days I can't even trust myself.
It's killing me to see you this way. 'Cause though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. Well, tell her that I miss our little talks.
Soon it will be over and buried with our past.
We used to play outside when we were young and full of life and full of love.
Some days I don't know if I am wrong or right.
Your mind is playing tricks on you, my dear. 'Cause though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. Don't listen to a word I say. The screams all sound the same. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. You're gone, gone, gone away. I watched you disappear. All that's left is a ghost of you. Now we're torn, torn, torn apart. There's nothing we can do. Just let me go, we'll meet again soon. Now wait, wait, wait for me. Please hang around. I'll see you when I fall asleep. Don't listen to a word I say. The screams all sound the same. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. Don't listen to a word I say. The screams all sound the same. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore.
See the mirror in your eyes. See the truth behind the lies. Your lies are haunting me. See the reason in your eyes, give an answer to the why.
Shia udaneaki, Danche, Kluani Adamek Uye, Dachlawedi Ayahat, Ageyo Hatu Asauk, Ganach Chish Chlek, Asia, Asua, Ganach Chish to Anquichan, Ganach Chish Kwanlandan Yukon. Hello, my name is Kluani Adamek, and I am from the Dachlawedi Killer Whale Clan. My Tlingit name is Age, and it's so important to acknowledge Clegg, our grandparents. I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Kwanlandan and Ta'an First Nations in the Yukon Territory. Ganachchish, thank you. I shared a little bit about myself in my traditional languages of Southern Shoshone and Tlingit. I continue to learn who we are as Yukon First Nations people. We are a people that deeply value, honor, and respect the roles of women. We always have. We're a matrilineal culture. And so, traditionally, our matriarchs would often guide and direct the speakers of the people, otherwise known as the chiefs. This important role of forging trade relationships, forging marriage alliances, and ensuring that all of the business that needed to take place in the community was happening was all guided and directed by our matriarchs. I definitely continue to see the ways in which we lead here in the Yukon not quite being aligned nationally. What do I mean by that? Well, to be clear, misogyny and patriarchy are definitely not reflective of who we are as Yukon First Nations or of the traditional structures and the ways in which we respect women in decision making. And so I saw these gaps and felt we need to have more women at the table. We need to have different generations at the table. And so this is where I had to get a bit vulnerable. I had to really look to myself to say, if not me, then who? And so I submitted my name to become the Yukon Regional Chief, knowing that I come from a strong people that continues to value and uphold women, and knowing that the voice that I would bring would be a voice that will be supported by my region. But furthermore, knowing that in every and any place where decisions are being made for women or those who identify, how important it is that women are in every place and space to be part of those decisions. And so I gave myself permission to put my name forward and to know that yes, I can serve. That yes, this was the best way for me to take action, and to know that my voice needed to be heard in the same way that other male voices were heard from across this country. There aren't any prerequisites to being a leader. It's not about having a title or being in a specific role. Leadership is about showing up who you are as you are, being authentic, leading from a place of values and principles, and leading from that place and staying true to yourself. And so some might say, well, you're in an elected position. What do you mean? Yes, I hear you. There's some irony in that. But let me explain. Contribution is the most important thing. For me, joining an executive of predominantly men, creating a space in my office where other Indigenous women could learn and lead, it was all about creating that space and by celebrating and acknowledging and contributing. There's a story that dates back to over 10,000 years ago. And the way that the story was shared with me is this. The killer whale people, the Dachlawedi, came to this insurmountable, huge glacier. They were traveling to make it back to their traditional homelands. And so they came to this glacier and they didn't know where they were going to go. Were they going to try to climb and go above? Were they going to try to follow it and see how far long it went? It was the matriarchs that said, we'll go. We see a small opening there, and so we're going to go and we're going to try to go through it. They didn't know if they would survive. They didn't know if they'd make it through, but they were fearless. And that is who we are. We are fearless because we understand the power of reciprocity. We understand that it's important to leave things in a better state and place than when we found them. We understand that the importance of connecting to the land and expressing gratitude is truly what grounds us and gives us the power and the ability we have to lead. Think of when you're walking by the water, for example. Take a moment of gratitude to thank the water for all that it gives you, to thank the land for giving you everything you need. It's always about making sure that you're leaving things in a better place and space than when you found them. It's about contribution. All of us as women have been through so much. And so this is about us finding ways to be supportive of each other. It's about always making sure that we're making that contribution and investment in the future generations. That is about reciprocity. There's so much that we can share with the world and that the world can learn from us as women. These are the challenges that we have for this future generation, and these are the challenges that we need to accept together. We need to give ourselves the permission to step into our own power. We need to give ourselves the permission to connect and to express gratitude to the land. And we need to give ourselves the permission to take care of ourselves. Because if we're not being taken care of, then how are we going to contribute to everybody else? Ganach Chish, thank you.
You know, too cute to be working here. Bad. Let's go home.
Hey, Jim. You know the old sugar daddy. They be tricking, they tell them girls.
I said you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night. Baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, I can treat you so special, so nice. Gas up the jet for you tonight. And baby, you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah. Anytime you want to, pick up the telephone. You know it ain't nothing to drop a couple stacks on you. Want it, you can get it, my dear. $5 million home drop business, I swear. Yeah, I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke joker, be quiet. Stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night. Baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, I can treat you so special, so nice. Gas up the jet for you tonight. And baby, you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah, shout you the hottest, love the way you drop it. So good, girl, it's where you went to college. 100K deposit, vacations in the tropics. Everybody know it ain't tricking if you got it. And you ain't never ever gotta go in your wallet. Long as I got rubber band banks in my pocket. 5'6" rides with rims and a body kit. You ain't gotta downgrade, you can get what I get. My chick can have what she want. And go and let it stone for any bag she want. I know you ain't never had a man like that to buy you anything your heart desire like that. Yeah, I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke joker, be quiet. Stacks on deck, Patron on ice. And we can pop bottles all night. Baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, I can treat you so special, so nice. Gas up the jet for you tonight. And baby, you can go wherever you like. I said you can go wherever you like. Yeah, I'm talking big boy rides and big boy ice. Let me put this big boy in your life. Girl, you smell so fresh and look so nice. Let me put this big boy in your life. That's right, I want your body, need your body. Long as you got me, you won't need nobody. You want it, I got it, go get it, I buy it. Tell the mother broke joker, be quiet.
Hello? Hello? I need the keys to the car. Where you get that from?
She be my queen since we were 16. We want the same things, we dream the same dreams. Alright. Alright. I got it all, cause she is the one. Her mom calls me love, but dad calls me son. Alright. Alright. I know for sure. Everybody wanna steal my girl.
never let her down before. And she knows that I'm never gonna let another take a love from me now. Everybody wants to steal my girl. Everybody wants to take her love away. Couple million in the whole wide world. We'll find another one 'cause she belongs to me. Everybody wants to steal my girl. Everybody wanna take her heart away. Couple billion in the whole wide world. Find another one 'cause she belongs to me. Oh yeah. She belongs to me. She belongs to me. She belongs to me.
Cut! Cut!
How's it right?
Until I can actually get this started. This is a work in process based on some comments that were made at TED 2 years ago about the need for the storage of vaccine. So 29 years ago, I had this thermo teacher who talked about absorption refrigeration. It was one of those things that stuck in my head. It was a lot like the Stirling engine. It was cool, but you didn't know what to do with it. And it was invented in 1858 by this guy, Ferdinand Carré, but he couldn't actually build anything with it because of the tools at the time. This crazy Canadian named Powell Crosley commercialized this thing called the Icy Ball in 1928. And it was a really neat idea, and I'll get to why it didn't work, but here's how it works. There's two spheres, and they're separated in distance. One has a working fluid, water and ammonia, and the other is a condenser. You heat up one side, the hot side. The ammonia evaporates, and it recondenses in the other side. You let it cool to room temperature, and then as the ammonia re-evaporates and combines with the water back on the erstwhile hot side, it creates a powerful cooling effect. So it was a great idea. Didn't work at all. They blew up. Because of using ammonia, you get hugely high pressures if you heated them wrong. It topped 400 psi. The ammonia was toxic. It sprayed everywhere. But it's kind of an interesting thought. So the great thing about 2006, there's a lot of really great computational work you can do. So we got the whole thermodynamics department at Stanford involved. A lot of computational fluid dynamics. We proved that most of the ammonia refrigeration tables are wrong. We found some non-toxic refrigerants that worked at very low vapor pressures. Brought in a team from the UK. There's a lot of great refrigeration people, it turned out, in the UK. And built a test rig and proved that, in fact, we could make a low-pressure, non-toxic refrigerator. So this is the way it works. You put it on a cooking fire. Most people have cooking fires in the world, whether it's camel dung or wood. It heats up for about 30 minutes, cools for an hour. You put it into a container, and it'll refrigerate for 24 hours. It looks like this. This is the 5th prototype. It's not quite done. Weighs about 8 pounds. And this is the way it works. You put it into a 15-liter vessel, about 3 gallons, and it'll cool it down to just above freezing, 3 degrees above freezing, for 24 hours in a 30-degree-C environment. It's really cheap. We think we can build these in high volumes for about $25 and low volumes for about $40. And we think we can make refrigeration something that everybody can have. Thank you.
Let's pull the 2-seat out, baby. It's wherever you want to go.
Vibing to the music. This is how we do it. All night. Reason down the freeway. Just me and my baby. Can I ride? Just me and my boss. No worries at all. Listening to the
just needed time to do what I had to do. Caught in the life, I can't let it go. Whether that's right, I won't ever know.
But when I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall. On the floor, but who can you call? My damn one who live by the code. Put this music aside, get it in on the road. Lot of quiet time, pink bottles of rose, exotic red bottoms, whole body glittered in gold. Following fundamentals, I'm following in a rental. I love a nasty girl who swallow what's on the menu. That money triple up when you get it out of state. Need a new safe cause I'm running out of space. El Ray Jets and I'm somewhere out of space. In my two-seater, she the one that I would take. We
vibing to the music. This is how we do it. All night, breezing down the freeway. Just me and my baby. Can I ride? Just me and my boss. No worries at all. Listening to the
Would've came back for you. I just needed time to do what I had to do. Caught in the life, I can't let it go. Whether that's right, I won't ever know.
But here goes nothing. Pull up on the block in the drop top chicken box. Mr. KFC, VVS is in the watch. Living fast where it's all about that money bag. Never front, you take it there, it ain't no coming back. Top down, right here is where she wanna be. As my goals unfold right in front of me. Every time we fuck, her soul take a hold of me. Addicted like Pookie, that be controlling me. That thing keep calling. Maintain, boy, I gotta keep ballin'. Pink bottles keep coming. James Bond coupe, pop clutch 100.
Vibing to the music. This is how we do it. All night, breezing down the freeway. Just me and my baby. Can I ride? Just me and my boss. No worries at all. Listening to the
Would've came back for you. I just needed time to do what I had to do. Caught in the life, I can't let it go. Whether that's right, I won't ever know. Hope you forgive me, never meant wrong. Tried to be patient and waited too long, but I would've came back. But I would've came back for you. Would've came back. Would've came back.
I talk slicker than up here from Augusta, who just had his linen suit dry clean. What's up with ya? I hate calling the women. Love it. I took some sense and made a nickel of it. I'm urging all daughters to kiss their mothers with those lips that all that lipstick covers. You're never too grown up to miss and hugger, and girls counting on me to be there like missing rubbers. I'm on some Marvin. Bunch of distant lovers. This ain't the life that I'm used to. Reintroduce the people I've been introduced to. Did you forget me? Or are you too scared to tell me that you met me in fear that I won't remember? I wish you could still accept me for me. I miss Memphis, Tennessee, my cousins, my dad. The simplistic beauty that all of them Southerners have. I'm halfway across the world with dozens of bags, feeling like all 4 members are calling me bad in one. I got that Courtney love for you, that crazy. I don't drink every bottle I own. I be 8, and I got them wedding ring flows that engage. Which one of y'all got fleets on your keychains and seats for these heat games? I really think that you stare at yourself and you see things. La Familia, I've been inducted and instructed to stun on these we don't really with. Having lunch and debating Ferrari prices. 23 and going through a midlife crisis, but trust me, I still deliver like a midwife. And no, I'm not saying I'm the nicest, I just live life like it. It take a certain type of man to teach, to be far from hood but to understand the streets. I never threw away that paper with my Grammy speech, because I haven't hit the pinnacles I plan to reach. Yeah, you gotta own it if you want it. Kisses on the body, she tells me live in the moment. And baby, I never forget none of that. Girl, I told you I was coming back.
Martin, you
Here's my key, philosophy. A freak like me just needs infinity. Relax, take your time.
And take your time to trust in me, and you will find infinity, infinity.
Philosophy. A freak like me just needs infinity. Relax, take your time.
And take your time to trust in me, and you will find infinity, 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 infinity. Take your time to trust in me, and you will find. And time goes by so naturally while you receive infinity.
As soon as Pharaoh Khufu ascended the throne circa 2575 BCE, work on his eternal resting place began. The structure's architect, Hemiunu, determined he would need 20 years to finish the royal tomb. But what he could not predict was that this monument would remain the world's tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years. To construct the Great Pyramid, Hemiunu would need to dig a 6.5-kilometer canal, quarry enormous amounts of limestone and granite, and use kilometers of rope to pull stones into place. Today, there are still vigorous debates about the exact methods the Egyptians employed. But we do know that first, Hemiunu needed a construction site. The Egyptians spoke of death as going west like the setting sun, and the Nile's west bank had a plateau of bedrock that could support the pyramid better than shifting sand. In a brilliant time-saving move, masons carved the plateau itself to look like the stones used for the rest of the pyramid. With this level foundation in place, construction could begin. The project called for a staggering 25,000 workers, but fortunately, Hemiunu had an established labor supply. Egyptians were required to perform manual labor for the government throughout the year, and citizens from across the country came to contribute. Workers performed a wide range of tasks, from crafting tools and clothes to administrative work to back-breaking manual labor. But contrary to popular belief, these workers were not enslaved people. In fact, these citizens were housed and fed with rations better than the average Egyptian could afford. To complete the project in 20 years, 1 block of stone would need to be quarried, transported, and pushed into place every 3 minutes, 365 days a year. Workers averaged 10-hour days, hauling limestone from 2 different quarries. One was close to the site, but its fossil-lined yellow stone was deemed suitable only for the pyramid's interior. Stones for the outside were hauled from roughly 13 kilometers away, using 9-meter-long sleds made from giant cedar trunks. When mined from the ground, limestone is soft and splits easily into straight lines. But after air exposure, it hardens, requiring wooden mallets and copper chisels to shape. The pyramid used over 2 million stones, each weighing up to 80 tons. And there was no room for error in how they were shaped. Even the smallest inaccuracy at the bottom of the pyramid could result in a catastrophic failure at the top. Researchers know where the materials used to build the pyramids came from and how they were transported. But the actual construction process remains mysterious. Most experts agree that limestone ramps were used to move the stones into place. But there are many theories on the number of ramps and their locations. And the pyramid's exterior is just half the story. Since death could come for the pharaoh at any time, Hemiunu always needed an accessible burial chamber at the ready. So 3 separate burial chambers were built during construction. The last of these, known as the King's Chamber, is a spacious granite room with a soaring ceiling located at the heart of the pyramid. It lay on top of an 8.5-meter-high passageway called the Grand Gallery, which may have been used as an ancient freight elevator to move granite up the pyramid's interior. Granite was used for all the pyramid's support beams. Much stronger than limestone, but extremely difficult to shape, workers used dolerite rocks as hammers to slowly quarry the stone. To ensure the granite beams would be ready when he needed them, Hemiunu dispatched 500 workers in the project's first year so that the material would be ready 12 years later. 5 stories of granite sit atop the King's Chamber, preventing the pyramid from collapsing in on itself. Once complete, the entire structure was encased with white limestone, polished with sand and stone until it gleamed. Finally, a capstone was placed on top, covered with electrum and glimmering like gold. This peak shined like a second sun over all of Egypt. This video was made possible with support from Marriott Hotels. With over 590 hotels and resorts across the globe, Marriott Hotels celebrates the curiosity that propels us to travel. Check out some of the exciting ways Ted Ed and Marriott are working together and book your next journey at Marriott Hotels.
그런 날이 있어 갑자기 혼자인 것만 같은 날 어딜 가도 내 자리가 아닌 것만 같고 고개는 떨궈지는 날 그럴 때마다 내게 얼마나 내가 소중한지 말해주는 너의 그 한마디에 Everything's alright till I have nobody 애써 다 somebody You make me feel special 세상이 아무리 날 주저앉혀도 아프고 아픈 말들이 날 찔러도 네가 있어 난 다시 웃어 That's what you do How can I feel special 아무것도 아닌 존재 같다가도 잘해줘도 내 사랑 못다가도 내 부르는 네 목소리에 I feel love I feel so 없는 날 네가 바로 나의 shining light That's what you do 아무리 어두운 밤도 다신다 I owe it to you Because you make me feel special 세상에 아무리 날 주저앉혀도 아프고 아픈 말들이 날 찔러도 네가 있어 난 다시 웃어 That's what you do How can I feel special 아무것도 아닌 존재 같다가도 사라져도 우릴 사랑 같다가도 내 부르는 네 목소리에 I feel loved I feel so special
Show me the meaning of being lonely. So many words for the broken heart. It's hard to see in a crimson love. So hard to breathe. Walk with me and maybe night till the light so soon become wild and free. I can feel the sun. Your every wish will be done. They tell me, show me the meaning of being lonely. Is this the feeling I need to walk with? Tell me why I can't be there where you are. There's something missing in my heart. Life goes on as it never ends. Eyes of stone observe the trends. They never say forever gaze. If only beauty rose to an endless love. There's no control. Are you with me now? Your every wish will be done. Tell me, show me the meaning of being lonely. Is this the feeling I need to walk? Tell me why I can't be there where you are. There's something missing in my heart. There's nowhere to run. I have no place to go. Surrender my heart, body and soul. How can it be you're asking me to feel the things you never show? You are missing in my Tell me why can't I be there where you are? Show me the meaning of being lonely. Is this the feeling I need to walk? Tell me why I can't be there where you are. There's something missing in my heart. Show me the meaning of being lonely. Is this the feeling I need to walk with? Tell me why I can't be there where you are. There's something missing in my heart.
I was born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, back in the 80s and 90s. Venezuela is a beautiful country rich with natural treasures, from beaches to rainforests. But one thing that people don't quite realize is that we also have really tall mountains. These are part of the Andes, and they stretch all the way down from Chile and Argentina. And they're also home to some of the very few tropical glaciers in the world. Back in 1910, when the first map was drawn, Venezuela used to have 5 tropical glaciers, which we used to call the 5 White Eagles. Today, unfortunately, there's only one left, and it covers an area which is smaller than Central Park in New York City. These glaciers have been disappearing because of the use of a resource that we extract not too far from them: oil. As a Venezuelan, my relationship with oil is complicated. On the one hand, oil is a resource that helped my country develop, as well as human civilization. On the other hand, it's a resource that slowly but surely fuels an existential threat: climate change. We now know that to avert the worst impacts of climate change, we're going to have to decarbonize everything that we do and everything that surrounds us. And to do that within the next 3 decades. These include things like transitioning from oil, natural gas, to clean sources of electricity, electrifying all of our vehicles, rethinking the way that we make our buildings and cities. The good news is that technologies to do some of these things already exist. And legislation to frame and direct these efforts is starting to be put in place. The bad news is that even if we do all of these things, it will still not be enough. There's still large sectors of our economy that will need to be decarbonized, for which we don't have the technology yet. These include the things like manufacturing processes that are used to make everything that surrounds us, from the cement and steel that holds our buildings together, to the chemicals and materials that we use to make the goods that we use in our daily lives. Things like the chair that you're sitting in, your shoes, the cars that you use, and all the devices that we use every day. The chemical manufacturing industry alone accounts for 10% of the energy consumption and 20% of the carbon emissions from industry. These emissions arise from the use of fossil fuel combustion to generate the heat that is required to drive processes inside of our old and inefficient chemical plants. One way to start fixing the issue will be to use electricity instead of heat from fossil fuels to drive the processes inside of these plants. Sounds easy enough, right? Just unplug the natural gas pipelines, plug in the electrical wire, and make sure that you source electricity from clean sources like solar, wind, or nuclear. Unfortunately, in reality, it's much harder than that. We're going to have to come up with new chemical reactions that can source their energy directly from electricity. These are called electrochemical reactions, and it's what my research group at New York University is focusing on: figuring out electrochemical paths that can create direct links between clean electricity and molecules. In electrochemical reactions, heat is replaced by electricity as an energy source. This allows us to operate reactors and carry out reactions at room temperature with minimal energy losses. But the problem is that for electrochemical reactions to become viable, they will need to be more efficient and cost competitive than the heat power ones that we use today. That means that electrochemical reactors will need to transform raw materials into products very efficiently, with minimal waste, and very selectively. This will then in turn incentivize chemical manufacturers to switch to electrochemical production processes instead of deploying new fossil fuel chemical plants. In our research, we started by looking at a chemical reaction that is used to make one of the most important polymers in the world, nylon 6,6. More than 5 million tons of all kinds of nylons are produced every year. And out of those, 2 million tons are of nylon 6,6. And these are used to make things like the textile fibers that we use in our winter jackets, or the plastic car parts that help make our vehicles lightweight and fuel efficient. Through our research, we managed to identify electrochemical reaction mixtures with the right additives and voltages to be able to transform raw materials into nylon precursors very selectively. We achieved selectivities of more than 80%, a value that is on par with commercial reactors. But we didn't stop there. While most electrochemical reactions operate with a constant stream of electrical current, we knew that if we control the interactions between the electricity input and molecules, we could achieve a higher performance. To do that, we decided to start exploring different electrical pulses in the search for the right pulse sequence that will deliver electrons at the same rate that molecules could react. Since there were so many pulses that we needed to test, we decided to then use a few number of results from different pulses to train machine learning models that then help us identify the appropriate pulse sequence for this reaction. This was the first time that artificial intelligence was used to optimize an electrochemical reaction. And the pulse sequence that we discovered allowed us to increase by 30% the production rate of these reactors. These large improvements in efficiency, selectivity, and production rates are very important because they will ensure that electrochemical reactions are competitive with fossil fuel power ones, which are already highly optimized. But hey, nylon is only one molecule in a network of tens of thousands of chemical products, many of which you see in this diagram, and many of which are common occurrences in your daily lives. Just think about the plastics that are used to make your computers and phones, or the paint that covers the walls around us, or the medicines that help us live a healthy lives. We're going to have to decarbonize it all within the next 30 years. That means that we're going to have to discover, develop, and deploy chemical processes much faster than we did in the past century. To that end, my group at NYU is combining artificial intelligence with autonomous research tools to run hundreds to thousands of experiments per day. In this way, we hope to decrease the time from idea to discovery by more than 100 times. Beyond nylon, we're also looking into production processes to manufacture other chemicals like ethylene and propylene. These are the main precursors to most of the plastic in the world. Through electrochemistry, we have managed to electrify already the most energy-intensive steps on the production process of these chemicals, a set of processes that alone account for a very substantial amount of energy in the chemical manufacturing industry. We're also rethinking the way that we make our chemicals and the chemical supply chain by developing new processes that can use and transform food waste into the chemicals that we make today from oil. This can be done by extracting molecules from waste streams and using them as precursors to things like plastics, additives, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals, and many more. And in this way, enhancing sustainability in chemical manufacture even further. The chemical industry is central to our modern economy and to our ways of lives. Decarbonizing it will take us several decades. This will include things like retrofitting our chemical plants so they can use electricity directly, capturing and sequestering CO2 as it comes out of the gas flue stacks, and more importantly, developing new chemical processes that are more efficient and can source electricity directly from clean sources. By accelerating research in electrochemical manufacturing, my team aims to develop some of these reactions, and in this way, help to transform the chemical industry one reaction at a time. When we get there, we will have been able to erase the carbon footprint of the chemical industry. And while we won't be able to bring our tropical glaciers back, we will have helped to develop a sustainable path for the future of our planet. Thank you.
What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mamas. I think the whole world's addicted to the drama, only attracted to things that'll bring the trauma. Overseas, yeah, we trying to stop terrorism, but we still got terrorists here living in the USA, the big CIA, the Bloods and the Crips and the KKK. But if you only have love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate, and to discriminate only generates hate. And when you hate, then you're bound to get irate. Yeah, madness is what you demonstrate, and that's exactly how anger works and operates. Man, you gotta have love just to set it straight. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love, y'all.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. When you practice what you preach and what you turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning, where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love?
It just ain't the same, always in change. New days are
along. Nations dropping bombs, chemical gases filling lungs of little ones with ongoing suffering. As the youth are young, so ask yourself, is the loving really gone? So I could ask myself, really what is going wrong in this world that we living in? People keep on giving in, making wrong decisions, only visions of them dividends. Not respecting each other, denying thy brother. A war's going on, but the reason's undercover. The truth is kept secret, it's swept under the rug. If you never know truth, then you never know love. What's the love, y'all? Come on, I don't know. Where's the truth, y'all? Come on, I don't know. Where's the love, y'all?
People killing, people dying, children hurt and living crying. When you practice what you preach and what you turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us. Send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love?
I feel the weight of the world on my shoulder. As I'm getting older, your people get colder. Most of us only care about money making. Selfishness got us following the wrong direction. Wrong information always shown by the media. Negative images is the main criteria. Infecting the young minds faster than bacteria. Kids wanna act like what they see in the cinemas, yeah. Whatever happened to the values of humanity? Whatever happened to the fairness and equality? Instead of spreading love, we're spreading animosity. Lack of understanding leading us away from unity. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling under. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling down. It's no wonder why sometimes I'm feeling under. Gotta keep my faith alive till love is found. Now ask yourself,
where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Father, 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 help us. Send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love?
sing with me, y'all.
One word, one word.
We only got
one word, one word.
That's all we got.
One word, one word.
And something's wrong with it.
Yeah.